Kia ora koutou, called Jack Marshall Aho. My name is Jack Marshall and I'm the Deputy Electoral Officer here at Porirua City Council. I'm just going to do quick introductions and health and safety before we kick off today. So in the event of an earthquake, please drop cover and hold and wait until we are instructed to leave the building. In the event of a fire alarm going off, please exit the building the same way you came in today, just out to the right, and assemble on Te Praha Park. In the event of a tsunami, please evacuate to higher ground. Excellent. We'll hear from a couple speakers today for our candidate information session. First up, we'll hear from Warwick Lamp, who is our electoral officer from Elections NZ. Then we'll hear from Wendy Walker, our chief executive. Nick Etheridge, who is our general manager of policy planning regulatory services, and Joanne Koo, who is team leader of parking and bylaws. And then also we'll hear from Councillor Terry O'Neill, who is a Wellington City Councillor for the Te Motu Kairangi Eastern Ward in Wellington City, and is not running for re-election this time around as well. Excellent. Warwick.
Thanks, Jack. Everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out on a Saturday morning. Got a candidate briefing presentation to do here. I've got about 50 slides to go through. I love PowerPoint. I'm going to go through the 50 slides very slowly. Read every word on every slide. It's not going to be death by PowerPoint. Righto. Let's scoot into it. As Jack said, my name is Warwick Lamb. I'm external to council, work for a company called elections.com, and Jack is council's deputy electoral officer. So Jack is the person who will deal with nominations on the ground and all the things to do locally, special votes, all those sorts of things, orange voting bins. So between Jack and I, we'll tag team the organisation of the election. And these are the councils that I work for. We work for 47 councils. We've been doing elections a long time, since 1986. I've probably done about 800 to 900 council elections or by-elections. So I've seen lots of things and got lots of stories. Been around the block a bit. I've probably done this presentation about 300 times. I live in Tauranga. I come from Martin. Anybody here who hasn't been to Martin before? Excellent. And our office is based in Christchurch, where all of our voting papers go for all of our councils to a centralised processing centre. I get asked a few questions about this slide, about how the council elections get organised. And why does the Electoral Commission have nothing to do with council elections? Because they don't. The Electoral Commission does parliamentary elections, not council elections. It's outside their gambit. What they do is provide us with the electoral roll for council elections. Just the electoral roll. They don't have any say or jurisdiction over the council elections. Nor does the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman, in his legislation, the electoral officer in council elections is excluded from what the electoral officer does, what the Ombudsman does. Similar with the Goima. I'm external to council, work for a private company, not subject to the Goima. However, our election process is entirely transparent. Everything's open to the public. Information is all in the public domain. If you want to know anything, just ask, and I will tell you. The only person that can direct the electoral officer is a district court judge. So that's the only person that I, as electoral officer, at the end of the day, would be responsible to. So, what's local government all about? Wendy, a few slides from you, please. There's your clicker.
Oh, thank you. Kia ora everyone. Lovely to see you on this variable weather day. Yes, my job today is to tell you a little bit about what it's like in local government and specifically Porirua. We haven't got that much time, so we do have a pre-election report which is on all the chairs. So I will just be doing an overview this morning. First up, the city that we serve is very diverse and a city of opposites. It's a great strength of Porirua, and we're very proud of the diversity of our people. Not sure why that's doing that. We also have what somebody described to me as a bifurcated graph there, which is in terms of socioeconomic status. So we have quite rich parts of our city and we have quite poor parts of our city. And we have the challenges that might bring with us. There are a number of big issues that will be facing the council over the next few years. And they're outlined in the pre-election report, but the top one that everyone talks about right now is affordability. And of course that's a challenge for council because we have a whole lot of services we need to operate and we need to rate people. And although not everyone is a ratepayer, everyone feels the impact of that through their rents or some other way. So we try and do the best we can with that, but that is a challenge, and it's a challenge across the entire country, but we are certainly feeling it quite hard here in Porirua. The other big challenge that we have coming along, and you may have all heard about this, is Three Waters reform. It's been going on about 8 years, I think, so some people have kind of turned off being interested in that issue, but water reform, this council, along with the other metropolitan councils and Greater Wellington Regional Council, have committed to going into a new entity and having our water services delivered another way from 1 July next year. So that is an immediate challenge that will strike any elected member being voted in at this next election, because there's quite a lot of work to do in that space. The other thing we're have been very enthusiastic about as a council, and we partner with Ngāti Toa on, is the health of our harbour. There's kaumātua at Ngāti Toa who will tell you that they grew up eating kaimoana from our harbour. Not possible now. So we have been investing a great deal of money in a range of ways to try and fix the harbour. So that has been a priority for the council for many years. Certainly was a priority when I started, and I've been here 10 years, and continues to be a strong priority for the council. The other thing that we've talked about in the pre-election report is the amount of government change going on in the system of local government. So there's resource management changes, Building Act changes, emergency management changes, of course water reform that I've already talked about. There's a report released this week on adaptation, which was silent on the role of local government, but for sure there is a role for local government somewhere in there. So there's a lot of change going on in the system, and if you're up for change, it's a great time to be joining local government, but you really need to be up for that to sit around the table, and it'll be coming your way. The thing that we try and do is outline, and we have outlined in the pre-election report, the major projects that are coming up. I'm not going to list them, There's a whole heap there. You'll see that they really revolve a lot around water projects, so our capital projects are inclined to be to do with our 3 water services or our waste management services that are up for review. And in there we also have one quite nice project, the Cannons Creek Library, which the council has had on its books for many years actually, but has just come up with a cost-effective way of delivering that. This year, when people get to vote, it's a slightly different polling paper. For the first time, we've got a couple of polls in there. One is on the Māori ward. Porirua's had a Māori ward for just 3 years. There's one person representing the Māori population or the Māori population who is on the Māori electoral roll in the city. The government has said that we need to poll to decide, to give people a vote on whether that's a good idea or not, so that poll is in there. And the other one is a non-binding poll. The Māori ward poll is binding, but the other poll is one that the council itself has elected to undertake, which is about whether we should enter discussions with other councils in the region on possible amalgamation. Probably doesn't say the word amalgamation in there, but it's kind of what it means anyway. So those 2 polls will be on the ballot paper this time. So I'm not going to spend any more time in front of you talking at you. I have had a very great career in local government. I've worked in 2 councils and had a lot to do with lots of others. It's an interesting space. You get to talk about almost everything that you could possibly think of, not necessarily those things that are inside council's role. So you have to be up for that as well, discussing both the things that matter to people, other things that matter to local government. Doesn't mean that we have a role in delivering them, but we're there for the people of this place. So great place to work, great place to be an elected member, and I hope we have a great lineup of candidates. So I'll pass back to Warwick. I think it's back to you.
That's right. Thanks, Wendy. As you said there, 2 polls. As Wendy said, council is a big business, complex business with lots of pieces of legislation that touch it. More than 120 pieces of legislation that affect council in some way or another. Wendy, I'll ask you a couple of quick questions if I can. What's council's annual turnover? Rates and capex? Approximately?
140.
Yeah, it's 140 mil, so a big organisation. How many full-time staff?
About 400.
Okay, so 140 mil, 400 staff, big, complex organisation. So there are all the top level things that council does and elected members need to be across. And as a result, standing for council is a big deal. It's not a 5-minute job. It's a big responsibility and a really positive responsibility to take on, to have a say in the future of the council and the city going forward. It's a great thing to be a part of. There's lots of information in the Canada handbook. Please take your time to read the handbook in detail that talks about all of these things. And now, hand over to Terry for a few slides and we'll have a bit of a chat.
Kia ora mai tātou, ko Terry O'Neill Tukunga. I am a City Councillor at Wellington City Council, and I have been for, excuse me, about 6 years, but 10 years local government experience. This role is highly rewarding, it's challenging, it's sometimes frustrating, but can be really surprising, and it's also one of the most meaningful things I've ever done. The commitment is fairly big. You'll be expected to turn up, read thoroughly, stay present. Thursdays at Porirua City Council are full in-person meeting days, and most weekends will include a full day of reading your papers, normally a couple hundred. And there's extra community mahi too, residents associations, visiting locals, following up on different issues. And so I guess one of the takeaways around this is, as an elected official, one that is held accountable to the public, your time isn't often your own, and that includes when you're popping down in your socks to grab a treat from the supermarket, or you're at the movies, or you're at the pub. People will recognise you and they will approach you, and that's a big part of the deal. I guess a key thing is also around behaviour and boundaries as an elected member, but also as a candidate. You're expected to behave at a much higher standard than your neighbours, and it's really important that your behaviour is always respectful. One thing I like to try and repeat to myself is the Dom Post test. Would I be comfortable if what I just said or did was plastered on the front of the Dom Post? How would that go? And holding yourself accountable around that as well, including on social media, posting and commenting on your mates' birthday posts and other things like that, can all come back into the public. A really key thing that I wish I had done at the beginning of becoming a candidate is setting really clear boundaries between yourself and your constituents, and doing those boundaries, setting them in place for your whānau and your friends as well. It's not appropriate if your husband gets approached by a council issue picking the kids up from a primary school. So it's really key to making sure that you've got those, and you can say, hey look, if that happens again, you just give them my business card and I'll have a chat or follow up privately. The last kind of big thing is around you have to cover quite a significant variety of issues. Yeah, everything from yellow lines, or as Wendy has detailed, significant multi-million-dollar water reform. But there's loads of resources out there. If you haven't checked out the council YouTube, it's one of my favourite things to do in the downtime. Let's check on other councils' live streams. There's also a really fantastic pre-election report that has a lot of those details, and you will have comrades on the trail as well, so you'll be able to discuss and fly information back and around that. Yeah, lastly, you have to be up for it. Running for election and being a councillor is not something you can really just do on the whim, although it does happen and people do get elected like that sometimes. But you also really do have to be committed to the full 3 years, and that's really important as well. But yeah, kia kaha, keep showing up, asking people for their vote. It's an awkward space to be in, but you will have a lot of fun, and you'll make heaps of community connections on the way. But ngā mihi, back to Warwick.
Thanks, Terry. Most interesting to hear all of those things, and yeah, I completely agree with all the things you talk about, particularly around candidate safety, because it's not always a bed of roses. Particularly in social media land, we know that things can get a bit gnarly from time to time, as Terry mentioned. And perhaps, one way around that is to keep your campaigning self separate from your personal self. Have a separate email address, maybe use a burner phone. Remember those things, as Terry said, to keep things separate from your whānau and the things that they do in their normal lives. So just, that slide is it's not the end of the world, but be aware of these things. If you're going to meetings, campaign meetings, meet candidates, do the scan of the room, check where the exits are, work out where your de-escalation point could be if you found yourself in a situation where your safety was compromised. Of course, you can always go to the police, but just be aware of those things, because it can happen. I'm not saying it will, but it can. Okay, so as an elected member, these are some of the key things that elected members do. governance, not operations, strategy, not potholes. And remember that elected member only employs one person, the CE, Wendy. And Wendy's job is to look after the 400 employees. High level governance, not management. These are some of the key competencies that are handy to have, not essential, but handy. You know, as Terry said, lots of reading, big documents, and after hours work that goes with that to cover all that off. Going to meetings, representing council, doing lots of things out in the community that are outside office hours. And really one of the key things there, even if you're elected by a ward, is that you're there district-wide, city-wide. Your oath of allegiance at your inaugural meeting is about being there for the whole city. And you're making big complex decisions, as Wendy said, that affect things going forward, intergenerational stuff, big capital items, and you have to understand how that fits in the big picture of the city and the district. Having public speaking skills handy, but not essential. Once you've been around the council table for a few months, you'll soon pick up those public speaking skills pretty quick. But I think the key ones are, you know, eyes and ears of the district and the city, and really good reading skills to cover off all those documents. Council meetings, lots of them. You can see there the number of meetings that have been held in the last couple of years. Pretty much me as a full-time job. Councillors can be, you know, 2 to 3, sometimes 4 days a week. Goes in cycles a bit, depends on what's happening around the council table. Long-term plan time, big deliberations, long meetings, lots of things to consider, more time required. Other times, not so much. Jack, everyone's got an iPad, or the option to have an iPad. So all agendas are electronic, sent out, a week before the council meeting? Pretty much. So nothing printed, no printed documents, everything electronic, done iPad or your laptop, reading at home. Okay. Any questions about that? Sorry, I meant to say before, happy to take questions at any time. Just sing out if you want to know anything as we go through. And here are the remuneration figures, recently updated by the REM Authority. That sets these amounts for all councils. Remember, elected members are not employees, self-employed, look after your own tax and ACC. There are some allowances to go with that, including a recent one from the REM Authority that it is an option for elected members to have assistance with security at home, security system at home, up to, I think it's about $4,500 upon a risk assessment being done, but is an option and is possible in addition to those things there. Okay, let's have a quick chat about the election process. So, as election officer, these are the things that I do. Responsible for the election in accordance with the Act and the regulations. Pretty prescriptive, not the world's most exciting piece of legislation. So it's all about me making sure that it's a level playing field for all candidates. But what I don't do is get involved in the political campaigning space. I'm not interested in what happens on social media. I'm not interested in what candidates might say about each other. If someone calls you all sorts of nasty names on social media, I don't care. I have a sphere of caring that's outside it. So Don't complain to me about what someone might say. Can happen. This really is one of the key slides for all the important dates in the election process. Hopefully you'll be aware that nominations are now open last week. We're a week in, close Friday, 1st of August, 12 noon. Not 12:01, but 12 noon. Talk about that in a minute. Then voting period 9th of September to 11th of October. Few changes from last time. Sorry, before we go there. These are the elections that are up in Porirua. Remember Porirua's STV, ranking candidates in order of preference, same now as GW. And out to the right there are the number of electors in each of those areas. Yeah. Correct. Correct. It's not my place to comment on the fairness of that. It's about whether you're on the general roll or the Māori roll, and as a result, that's the outcome of that. Correct. Correct. Well, with the introduction of Māori wards, it allows those on the Māori roll to vote for their representative, and it depends on the population of those areas as to how many representatives are on the council as a result. And in Porirua's case, the population is sufficient for there to be one Māori ward councillor, so those on the Māori roll get the opportunity to do that. Council's made that decision to put in a Māori ward, and that's the outcome of that. Sort of. It's not the number of electors, it's the number that live in the city of Māori descent. So it's not electors on the electoral roll, it's population based. The answer to that is, yeah. The answer to that is sort of, because it's not that number that matters. That's just the electoral roll. It's not about the electoral roll. It's about the population who say they are of Māori descent. So you forget about what that number is. It's about the number of the population that are then in relation to those that are not of Māori descent, to then work out what that ratio would be. Yes, if the Māori descent population was more, which is more about population, not electoral roll, then yeah, the number may end up being 2. It just depends on that ratio between population. Yes. It's not about the Māori role, though. It's not about enrolling. It's about living in the district. But they're already taken into account in the population to determine the number of Māori ward councillors. So that's already included. Not about the electoral role. So I'll talk about this later. Let's take this offline and we'll have a chat later. Remember, sorry, just going back there, that the order of candidate names on the voting documents is random. So the voting papers that you get at home, between you and those else in your household, the order will be different. Printed on the fly, random order. In the order, in the candidate profile booklet, they'll be in alphabetical order though. Okay, what's changed since last time? Won't dwell on this too much, but voting period 10 days longer to let the postal system do its thing. So voting papers will be out there for just over a month. It used to be 21 days. Nomination period as a result slightly shorter, a couple of days, but it doesn't really affect anything too much at this point. Remember the Māori option, you could have changed between the general roll and the Māori roll up till Thursday, 10th of July, and this time in Porirua, no Hut Mana Charitable Trust election because they've moved to appointing their trustees, not elected. At this time we are able to provide a telephone dictation service for those in the community who are unable to complete their voting paper themselves. Okay, you'll get sick of me saying this. Sorry, I'll come back to that. Māori ward poll, sorry. As Wendy said, a number of Māori ward polls around the country and in Porirua for both the council and for Greater Wellington. And that is the wording of the Māori ward poll at the bottom there. I vote to keep or I vote to remove the Māori ward. That everyone gets to vote on. Binding on council, binding on the regional council for the period 2028 to 2034, not the period 2025 to 2028. So for this election, after this election, there will be one Māori ward councillor, and then subject to the poll from next time. So on your voting papers, 2 polls, one for the council. So on the voting paper there will be election for the mayor, election for the ward, then the Māori ward poll, then the amalgamation poll, for want of a better word, then GW's constituency, and GW's poll. And as Wendy said, a non-binding poll on effectively committee's view on amalgamation, to have discussions about that, non-binding, to help council frame up its strategy going forward. And that's the wording. Okay. As I said before, nomination period closes 12 noon, Friday, 1 August. You'll get sick of me saying this. Please do not leave lodging your nominations till the last minute. I would love it if you got your nominations in the next few days. Because if you do leave it till the last minute and there's something wrong, like your nominator's not on the roll, and you haven't got time to get it fixed by 12 noon on the last day, then you're not a candidate. It happens all the time. Usually about 50% of our nominations have come in the last 48 hours. This time, a week in, we're ahead of schedule. We're ahead of the numbers that we've got across the country. Porirua's case, there's only one so far, but around the rest of the country it's going pretty good. So perhaps that message is getting out there. Please do not leave lodging your nomination to the last minute. If you do, though, and you come into the council office just before midday on the last day, Jack will be there to process nominations. If you are inside the door of the council building, when Jack is there listening to the pips of the national program on the radio, if you're inside the door, he'll take your nomination, go and process it. Presuming it's all okay, he'll be fine. But if there's something wrong with it, no. So be mindful of that. Same if you're sending it in electronically, and 80% of our candidates do send their nominations electronically by email. I'll show you where this goes to shortly. Remember, it's not the time that you send the email that matters, it's the time that Jack receives it in his inbox. So don't do what someone in Tauranga did last year, sent their nomination in at 11:58 a.m. By the time it goes through cybersecurity, council's email servers, turned up council's email address at 12:01. Too late. Not the time you send it, the time Jack receives it. As we all know, sending an email doesn't get there straight away. Give enough time for it to get there. Otherwise, you might be disappointed. Do you have to pay your $200 deposit for every nomination? Got to provide evidence of New Zealand citizenship, passport, birth certificate, citizenship certificate. As we said, there can be done in person and to Jack's elections email address. Remember, nomination documents are a public document. Anyone can come and have a look at it. So for your nominator and seconder, just remind them that their details could well be in the public domain. Anyone can look at that nomination paper. But, candidate safety, we will not put candidates' private home address on the internet anywhere or make them available with the nomination papers if someone does come and have a look. Candidates' address is on the back side, only the front side of the nomination paper is in the public domain. Okay. Once you do put your nomination in and it's confirmed and approved, new process this time, we are publishing those documents on council's website straight away. You can go there now and have a look at the link on the council website. It shows the nominations that have been received, in this case just one, but you can look at, there's a link there to all the councils that we do work for, and you can go and see all the councils and all the nominations that are there. Shown as candidate's name, affiliation, email, mobile, not physical address. So the earlier you get your nomination in, the earlier those details will appear on council's website. At the same time, new process this time, once that's gone through that process and we've checked it and it's been published, we'll then produce a PDF that is emailed to each candidate with their profile statement and the photo for candidates to check, ready to go. First time we've done this, we've had really good feedback from it so far. So the candidates get to see their profile statement as it's going to appear in the booklet before it gets printed and signed off. Okay? Terry hasn't had this before as a candidate. This time, it's a new thing. Not an opportunity though for candidates to make wholesale changes to the profile. The reason for it is to check the key details. Is the name spelt right? Is it in the right election? Is the affiliation correct? Have we got the right photo? Does the photo print okay? Those things, make sure they're right. Is the information about living in the area or not? Are you standing for other elections? Is that all noted? All those key details. Not a chance to change the profile per se. You can have an affiliation, which is pretty much a slogan. Can be anything, pretty much anything. Can be from a political party like Labour Party, Greens, ACT, New Zealand First. Can also be a slogan. Could be independent, could be truly independent. Completely, utterly and always independent. Can be, what have I seen in the last couple of days? Believe in better. more democracy, less bureaucracy, rates control, pretty much anything you like. What do I have mentioned yesterday? Aotearoa New Zealand Silly Hat Party. Pretty much anything that you like, as long as it's not confusing, not offensive, or over 38 characters. 38 characters including a space. And the decisions around those things are mine to make as to whether it's offensive or confusing. So I said before, you've got to state on the nomination paper if you're standing in other elections. You can stand in as many elections as you like. You can live in Porirua and stand in Wellington if you want to. You just have to state on each nomination paper the other elections that you're standing in. I had a gentleman last time, top of the South councillors, who stood for the mayoralty for 6 councils. $200, $200, $200, $200 on each nomination paper here to say, I'm standing for all of those other councils. 6 profiles, 6 photos, no problem. And at the same time, you have to state if you are standing, if your place of residence is in the area that you're standing in or not. That gets printed at the top of the profile document. I'll show you what this looks like in a minute. You have to state that as to whether you live in the area or not. Of course, you don't have to. You just have to record that. If you are standing for GW, of course, the nominations go to their office in Cuba Street. There's the nomination paper. Plenty of them on the table over there or in the pack beside you. Make sure you grab those before you go. And the back side of the nomination paper, the key section there, where you email it to, and the details of the bank account for paying the $200 deposit. When you do pay the $200 deposit, we do want to see evidence of that payment. So, the transaction receipt from the online banking system or a screenshot if you're emailing it, just so that we can see it and Jack can track it in the council's bank account. So as I said, got to be a New Zealand citizen. And can stand for another council, can stand mayor and the ward. Can only stand for one ward though. Stand for the Māori ward if you're on the general roll. You can stand in the general ward if you're on the Māori roll. But the nominator and seconder have to be in the area that you're standing in. Can't stand for Porirua and for the regional council at the same time. And the key one there, be mindful of the $25,000 limit if you or your partner has a contract with council. There's lots of information on the Audit Office website about this. It's the candidate's responsibility to make sure that you meet those requirements. It's about whether you are directly involved in a contract with council for more than $25,000 a year. And remember, after closed nominations, you can't change your mind. You can only withdraw on the grounds of medical incapacity. Every year I get calls on the Monday after closed nominations from people saying, I've looked at the list of candidates, I really don't want to be there anymore. Can I take my name out? No, you can't. Too late. Can't withdraw after the close of nominations. Can beforehand, not after, unless it's on grounds of medical incapacity. If you don't want to be there, you can always do a Don't Vote For Me campaign. But it can sometimes backfire as well. Candidate profile statement, 150 words, not 151. I check this to the nth degree. Some candidates get very creative about putting hyphens between words that shouldn't be hyphenated, and I gladly unhyphen them. Stick to normal conventions of grammar and spelling. Don't do anything fancy with hyphens. No fancy characters, no caps, no italics, no speech marks, no bullets, no numbers. Just nice, straight, plain text, max 150 words. About a candidate and what you're standing for. Not about someone else, not about another candidate, not about Wendy, not about the electoral officer. Straight up, simple about who you are and what you're standing for. Preferably not a PDF. It's hard to copy and paste from a PDF. We deal with profiles electronically. Word doc or into the body of the email. If you put the word, you can check the word limit before you send it to us to make sure it's okay. But we will triple check that. In English and Te, so 150 words in English and 150 in Te, the Te has got to be substantially the same. And we check that. Yeah. So in the profile you can put, within reason, whatever you like. Web address, one word. Phone number, one word. Facebook link, one word. So you can include all that. Whakapapa. Titles. Actually, that's a good point. So with the affiliation, the party affiliation, whakapapa is not an affiliation. It's a birthright, but you can put whakapapa in the first line of the profile statement if you want to. But yeah, any of those things, and they count as one word. We'll check all that. Not a QR code though. Can't put a QR code in the profile. Won't print properly. They will go up on Council's website a couple of weeks after nominations have closed once we've signed them off for printing. And photos. Keen on photos electronically. Like these ones. Taken within the last 12 months. Jack, is yours taken in the last 12 months?
12 years.
12 years. Is my photo taken in the last 12 months? No. Taken in the last 12 months, colour, electronic, as high a res as you can get. We check this. If Jack gets a photo from me that he thinks doesn't look like what you look like, he will check it with me and I will come back to you and say, can you please prove it was taken in the last 12 months? I might get my IT person to delve into the metadata in the photo and check to see when it was taken. So please make sure you get that right. Last 12 months. This is of course just the photo for your profile. You can use whatever photo you like in your campaigning. That can be as old as you like. It can be photoshopped up the wazoo if you want to. It's just the one that goes in your profile statement that has to be taken in the last 12 months in colour. No hats, no dark sunglasses, no trees, no pets, no babies, no other people, no parrots, nothing fancy. Nice, clear, clean background, head and shoulder shot. Yes, you can smile. You don't need to do the passport drug dealer look. Just nice, simple photo. Okay. If you want to, candidates can ask for and receive the profile booklet from previous elections. I've got those on my files to see how they look if you really want to. It might even be on Council's website. No? No. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It's the profile, the top bit of it. Photo taken in the last 12 months, not like that one. And as you see, the candidate's name, first name in lowercase, surname in caps, and then underneath it, the affiliation, proven, dedicated, real. Sounds like me. Pretty much anything you like, or nothing. Actually, that does remind me, if you are using a party affiliation from one of the major political parties like Labour or Greens, New Zealand First, I do need a letter from them to say that you're authorised to do that. but I have been in contact with those general secretaries of those parties, and they've given me a list of those candidates. But the name has to be on that list to be able to use that affiliation. So there are the other two sentences. My principal place of residence is in the area, and I'm also standing for other elections if I was. Not part of your 150 words. You don't have to put that at the top of your profile statement. We do that automatically. So you can put whatever you like in your 150 words. Okay, any questions about that? Candidate videos. Also new this time. First time that most councils have done candidate videos. What's wrong, Jack?
We've done them before.
Oh, you've done them before? You've done them before? Sure, yes, right. Porirua has done them before. Done after the closed nominations. So once nominations close, candidates will be emailed instructions around when the videos will happen. 3 set questions, which will be pretty generic questions like, why are you standing? What skills do you bring to the role? What are the key things in front of council for the next 3 years? Something like that. You get the opportunity to have a couple of goes at it, recorded by the council, same level playing field, same sound, same lighting, same environment, and then post on council's website 2 or 3 weeks after the close of nominations. Optional, don't have to. Usually gets lots and lots of hits. Any questions about candidate videos? Campaigning, a few slides about that. Won't take too long. A couple of key things. A few do's and don'ts. You can't use council resources in your campaigning. You can't use council's logo, branding, colours, photos of council buildings if you're standing in front of them with the council's name behind it. Can't rock up to a council meeting in the council chambers wearing a Vote For Me t-shirt, or have your friends sitting at the back of the gallery holding up a Vote For Me sign. That would then appear on council's live stream, which is council's live stream, not candidates' live stream. Can't use council's social media channels for campaigning. Remember, every piece of campaigning material, every piece of campaigning material has got to have that little authorisation statement on it. Authorised by candidate, candidate's name and contact method, not physical address. Doesn't need to have the physical address, just candidate's name and email or mobile or web address on every item of campaign material. Even if it was a small badge you were doing, could have a little writing on it. Remember, it doesn't matter how big or small the writing can be. Could be like a sticky label in the corner, or skinny writing down the side. Doesn't have to be big, just has to be there in one form or another on the front of the sign, on your pamphlets, brochures, t-shirts, caps, pamphlets, everything. Sanction if it doesn't happen. You'll get a grumpy Warwick on the phone, and technically against the legislation, and I could pass it to the police if you refuse to do it. It's genuinely pretty self-policing though, and candidates are very quick to tell me if someone hasn't got an authorisation statement on their material. And I probably actually follow Terry's comment that these sorts of things, they can sometimes either end up on the front page of the paper. Does it pass the front page test using council resources or missing authorisations? Remember, just be truthful about things that you put in your candidate advertising. If you're putting it in a paid form of advert, billboard, poster, pamphlets, because if someone believes you're being untruthful, they could make a complaint to the Advertising Standards Authority, ASA, and they will look at that, and if it is found to be factually incorrect, make you change it. I've seen this happen quite a few times. Be mindful of that. Social media, interesting space. As I said before, try and stay away from this, but a few things. Remember, council's social media channel is council's social media channel, not a candidate's. Can't post anything on council's channel. Monitored, zapped, deleted, someone continued, they'd be blocked. Many of my councils stop comments on every post from now. Not everyone, but some do, to get around this issue. But I'm pretty relaxed about it. Depends on the scenario and depends on if there are comments being made or not. Remember, it is illegal for anyone to take a photo of their completed voting paper before you put it in an envelope and post it on the internet. Against the legislation. You can take a snib of your name in a box with a number 1 in it, but you can't show other candidates without anything in it. I'll show you what this looks like on a sign shortly. I'll show you what I mean when I'll give you a good example. So what can you do in the social media space? It's a bit tricky, but in simple terms, you can take council's posts about anything and send them out to your audience as much as you like. So you can share them, forward them on with the campaigning message if you want to. You just can't do anything that goes back to council's channel. Can't rate, review, check in, like, anything that would then appear on council's channel that would show your name underneath the post. So pretty simple principle, send it forward, just don't go back. Okay, make sense? If you're unsure about that, sing out. Yeah. Correct. Correct. Yeah, that's right. And share it with a message if you want. Happy with that, Jack? Good. Signs, my favourite topic. I love election signs, which is why I'll quickly exit stage left and hand it over to Nick, who's very keen on signs.
I don't know that I'd go that far, but morena tatou. I'll be really quick because I'm mindful of time. So yes, Porirua City does have a signs bylaw, and who knew it would be such a popular topic at this time of the election cycle. So it does exist to ensure that your signs are visible to the community and there's a fair placement of signs, so you feel like your campaign is being treated fairly and equitably. So we do have a principle around ensuring that the rules are supporting a transparent and equitable placement of signs so you can be seen. We have had issues in the past with complaints, and where that happens, we've learnt from some of those experiences and will ensure that we give you time to sort that placement out. So if you're unsure, we want you to work with us, talk to us. We want you to have a positive experience with the regulatory team, because for some people might be their first interaction with us, so we would really like that to be a positive one. So we will give you time. When we have a complaint, we do need to act on that complaint. So we will work with you around a suitable time that we can go back to that complainant around when it will be fixed. And that can be an agreement together around what's appropriate. We will make sure that we treat you all consistently. That's a really important principle in the signs game. So just to be clear, all signs must have permits and all signs must have an authorisation statement. In the interest of time, I'm just going to whip through the couple of key points about the signs Even though I'm not across the detail, I've got Joanne here just in case someone asks a question that does require it. So page 22 and 26 of your candidate handbook, that's where all the details are around what the signs look like, the placement of them. They can go up from Saturday the 9th of August at midnight, which is 2 months prior to the election day. There is a limit on size of signs and number per candidate per site. They can be on private land, but only for 2 months. They must be removed the day before election day, which is 11:59 p.m. on Friday the 10th of October. There are different distance rules between a Waka Kotahi road and a local road. So the bylaw has 50 metres from an intersection. That's for safety reasons. Obviously, if you've got a great photo, you don't want people to be looking at your photo, who's that? And whilst not paying attention, so it is for safety reasons. And therefore, Waka Kotahi, who have busier roads, it's 100 metres from an intersection. Who knew I knew that, eh, Joanne? Then vehicle sign writing is okay. The cost of running a vehicle, if it is your own personal transport, is not an expense towards the election. The cost of framing timber is not an election expense. Like I say, when we get complaints, we do have a duty and requirement to follow up on those complaints. We'll work with you about that. And in the worst case scenario, if a placement of a sign isn't undertaken, isn't rectified, we do have the ability to take your sign away. And in the first instance, we have decided we will not charge you for that. We're going to get your sign back. But if it happens more than once, then we will have to recoup the costs of going out to collect that sign and bringing it back. Again, we'll work with you and make sure that you understand the requirements around it. Make those complaints to our monitoring and enforcement team. I think the details of that are in your candidate handbook. And just to give you an example of a good placement, it is this, not this. So we don't want people at the level playing field muscling in over their other candidates who want to try and keep that equitable. And that's me. All right, questions? Do you want to answer that, Joanne? I think it's about measuring well will be the first thing. Do you have a response, Joanne?
Yeah, so depending on the number of candidates we get and the number of signs on the site. So this year we've had removed 4 smaller sites compared to last year because there were lots of smaller sites. So we think we currently got those, the remaining sites that are available are the right size. However, we will have more candidates this year round. We will then work with
Yeah, so just, yep. That's correct. So we've got, is it 10 sites in each ward, 14 sites in each? Yeah, so 14 sites overall across the city, 7 sites in the 2 different wards. And we've tried to, like Joanne said, get bigger sites so that we can fit people in, they can place them well.
no, that's fine, it's allowed, but we recommend you tell us the trees that you're planning on putting on private land, just in case of breaches of any other legislation like resource consent, resource management. Just so we can help you to make sure it's compliant. But in general, it's allowed. Same period.
Yes, sorry, one other question. There you go. Any other questions before I hand over to Warwick?
Yep, I've got a question. For the sign, the locations you've got, will you go out there with your dazzle spray and mark out where it is on the side of the road? So
Yes.
people can see?
Yep, that's our standard practice every election.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Oh, going the wrong way here. So yeah, that was the key one of placement, size, time. When it comes to vehicles, there's no restrictions on vehicles. You can put signs on vehicles now. These requirements only relate to election hoardings, signs, not vehicles. The only thing with the vehicle is that it has to have that authorisation statement on it. But you can do it now as much as you like. That's it. Do it now. Vehicles can be sign written now. But any other item of campaigning other than signs can happen now. It's just signs that are restricted to the 2 months. The old 2 months thing and down the day before thing, it's actually not a legal requirement. It's council's hoardings policy. I deal with 47 councils. They're all different. I've got some that are 3 months, some that are 2 months, some that are 8 weeks, some that are 6 weeks. Some come down the day before, some come down the day after, some come down a week after. They're all over the shop. It's what it is here that is important. Yeah. Yes. Yes. If it's your personal vehicle, correct. Yes. Yep. Yep. And ads in the paper, no problem. Yeah. Yeah. No, you can do it now. There's no time restriction on campaigning. You can start. You could have had your car sign written 3 months ago and posters out, pamphlets everywhere. The risk is that if you leave putting in your nomination till the last minute and you bring it on the last day and find there's something wrong and aren't a candidate, you've got a problem. But you could do that as much as you like. Good questions. I'll lead a little bit into expenses. I've probably only got 10-15 minutes to go, if that. So, remember with your campaign, you've got to record all donations, even if you got them a year ago. If you've got a donation for your campaign, you have to record it and who it is from. Someone can't give you $500 and go, here's $500 for your campaign, but don't tell anyone that it's come from me. You can't. If you know who it is, or you could reasonably work it out, as in it's in your bank account, you have to record the name of who it is from. Public record, council's website for 7 years, in the public domain. It's the old John Banks rule from a few years ago. You have to declare who it's from. Every donation over $300, if it is anonymous, and how could you get an anonymous donation? I don't know. But if you do get a truly and utterly anonymous donation, as in you cannot tell who it's from, maybe a brown paper envelope put in your letterbox in the middle of the night by someone that you never saw who put it there, maybe, with a note saying for your campaign, yes, you can declare that as anonymous if you can't work it out, but if it's over $1,500, you've got to give that balance to the council. Careful of donations in kind and donations aggregated together. GoFundMe and Give a Little, they do not meet the donor requirements, so you can't use them for campaign donations because they're anonymous. That's the maximum amount that you can spend in your campaign. Maximum, including GST. Since these are numbers were put in place in 2001, haven't changed. If you're standing for the mayoralty and the ward, it's not 40,000 plus 20,000, it's the higher limit, 40k, including GST. Based on the population of those areas, not the electoral population. Nope. If you're standing for the mayor and you've got 40,000 to spend, if you receive 60,000 in donations, it's okay, you just have to declare those. What you do with the rest of the money is entirely over to you, between you and the donor. Okay, expenses. A few tricky things around this. Remember, its expense period was yesterday, 11th July to 11th of October. You have to record every cost of an item that is used within that 3-month period. You could have put a full page ad in the Dom Post on the 10th of July, outside the 3 months, not part of your election expenses. Daily paper, next day there's another daily paper, previous days gone back. If you put something in the local magazine for a month that goes across the 3-month period, you have to prorata that. With your car, if you had your car sign written a month ago, you were driving it around for 4 months, 3 months of the 4 months, 75% of the cost is what you would declare in your candidate expense return. Same deal, 7 years, Council's website, you can look at last times to see expense donation returns from 2022. Pass. I'm not into giving tax advice. Good question. Don't know. Don't know. Remember, as you said before, the cost of the running around of the vehicle is not an election expense, nor is, as Nick said, the cost of the wood that holds up your sign or the screws that attach to it. Not an election expense. Key thing about it is, when does the campaign item occur? If you, like your signs for example, the cost of your signs is an expense, even if you paid for it 6 months ago. It's not about when you paid for it, it's when is the item used. If it's in the 3 months, yep, if you're using ones from last time, no problem, you can use signs from last time. You just have to put in your expense return, election signs from 2022, no cost, assuming you recorded the cost last time. Sure. Remember that we mentioned this when we were talking about photos before. The photo for your profile statement is the only one that has to be within the last 12 months. Your signs, you can use whatever photo you want on your signs from however old it is. Yep. You can reuse your old signs. The only thing would be that if you then put, a little sticker along the corner that said, vote for me in 2025, the cost of that sticker would be an election expense, not the rest of the sign, because it's from last time. Just as long as you make that clear on your expense return. Any other questions about that? It's a bit of a minefield. Legislation's not that helpful. Check it out, give us a call. Yeah. You mean like trailers? A-frame trailer. Yeah, I'm not an expert on this, and I'll quickly duck out of the way and pass that one to Nick. You know anything about double-sided trailer signs?
I think that will really follow the Transport Act, depending on where you're parking it is. You need to really assess the situation, depending on where it is.
I guess as long as it's legally parked, that would be okay. but I'd get a bit grumpy if you parked it right outside the council building and left it there for the day.
It's not covered by under the science bylaw about manual transport.
There's
Can we get back to you on that?
in other councils that's quite common. There's no issues with it, I don't think.
We'll get back.
But yours might be different. Yeah, you check that out. Great. Okay, a couple of quick things about offences. Just remember, yes, you can meet your mates down at the pub and shout them a drink. You just can't say, here, I'll show you this drink if you vote for me. That's bribery, treating. You also can't give away a pen or a fridge magnet, an item that is of value that can be used for another purpose against the legislation, like a pen. People ask me, what does undue influence mean? Undue influence means when you have got your pen in your hand and you're about to mark your voting paper and someone is standing over your shoulder going, don't put the tick in that box, put the tick in that box. That's undue influence in the act of voting against the legislation. Here's a good example we talked about before of a good sign and a not so good sign. You can have your own box with a number 1 in it, but you can't have other candidates with a cross or without it. So the same goes for your voting paper. We talked that question about taking a snip of it. You can take a snip of your voting paper, showing just your name with your 1 beside it. You just can't show other candidates because that's an imitation voting paper. I've had this done by someone in Kapiti many moons ago. Off to the police, got prosecuted. Didn't turn out too well. And the bottom there, you'll see, has got Jack's done a great job on the authorisation statement. Authorised by the candidate's name and contact method. It used to be you had to put your physical address in it, like the one on the right, but you now don't need to. So that is a great example. Who knows where that is? Mayor Michael Horowhenua District Council, 2019. Michael restanding, had a council car park underneath the council building that he could have used, but he parked his car right outside the front door of the council building, which is right there. In a council car park, council resource. I got him to move it. Can't use council resource. Didn't get prosecuted, but he moved it, so it's okay. But, good example, sign written car, had an authorisation on the back, the car's no problem, and you can do that now. Our wondrous orange voting bins, my favourite topic. I love these things. Jack tells me he's got 30, and to have them in everywhere where people go to do their normal day business, supermarkets, transport hubs, council premise, different places where it is easy for you all to go and pop your votes in the orange voting bins. We'd much prefer them in the voting bins than through the postal network, because the postal network, as we know, is creaking at the seals. Advertised publicly in the candidate profile booklet on council's website. Candidates can take that, it'll be posted on Facebook. You can take it and send it to your network, no problem. Can you get it in there? Wellington City Council had 85% of the votes they received in the last by-election came through orange voting bins. Then the electoral rolls, as I said before, yep. Sure, there's no problem with that. Just with the electoral roll, the final roll that we get after the 1st of August is the roll that we use to send the voting papers out to. So everyone's got until the 1st of August to update their enrolment details. And as candidates, you can encourage people to do that as much as they like, because the moment they update their details, the voting papers will get sent to the right place. Same with the nominator and seconder, make sure that they are on the roll at the right address. And the same with you as the candidate, make sure that your address is updated so that you get your voting paper. So you can promote that as much as you like, because we want people to get their details updated. You can do it really easy. On your phone you go to vote.nz, you can check your own and you can update it straight away if it's out of date. Okay? You can send anybody to there to check their own, vote.nz. If you don't update your address and your voting paper gets sent to the wrong address, then you do have to do a special vote, which Jack organises during the voting period. How many we do in Porirua? About 350, 400? About that. Might be more this time with the Māori ward promotion. So if you haven't got it, gone to the wrong address, or you've lost it, dog's eaten it, you're on the unpublished roll, come in, do a special vote. Doesn't take very long. Declaration to do. Jack's got that process nailed down. All good to go. So on our website, you can go to it now, the same place where it's got the list of nominations. There's another tab on there that during the voting period will show the number of votes received by day, by ward, by council. You can go to all of our councils, you can see that. So during the voting period, that's live and updated at the end of each day. Same deal. Those results, we'll hit the button after midday, produce the result. Jack and Wendy will hop on the phone and ring everyone. Then we'll get, that won't include the votes in the orange voting bins from the Friday night and the Saturday morning. We'll get them later in the day and we'll process those and produce the prelim result on the Sunday afternoon. And then the final result 3 or 4 days later after specials have been processed. Remember, results do change. If you're within 20, 30 votes in a ward, they can change. Maybe even 50 vote margins. Sometimes it changes. And then the council has its inaugural council meeting. Jack, what's the date for that?
30th of October.
30th of October. Formal ceremony, big deal, friends and whānau, Porirua as well. Quite a big deal, worth everyone coming along to. Once the election result is confirmed, then Wendy and her team will contact all elected members and sort that out. And nearly at the end is the details of documents to look at. You've got the pre-election report, you've got the candidate handbook, all nomination papers in the pack there on the chair to make sure you've got all those. Then the last slide. Pretty straightforward. Please do not leave lodging your nominations till the last minute. Preferably get them in nice and early so that Jack can check them. No online voting, unfortunately. One day, I've been saying this for a long time, one day. Keep things positive, look after your safety, stick to your own campaigns, make sure you get the details sorted of signs, where they can go, and the size, and go from there. Jack and my job is to make sure that it is as easy as possible for people to be candidates. I know this presentation, there's lots of do's and don'ts, and it's a bit compliancy, but that's the legislation we're dealing with. But it's really not that hard. we will do what it takes to help you get organised and get in. So if you've got any questions at all, please just ask Jack or I. Our details are in the candidate handbook. You can email me or text me anytime and we can sort that out. Always there to help make it as easy as we can. Thank you for coming along, and please come and see me if you've got any questions one-on-one.